What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Cardano, Chainlink, and Algorand. I'm sure you're all wondering what's going on with these cryptos. Are they going to pump? Are they going to keep dumping? Spoiler alert, it looks like all three of them are going to break out. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. With that being said, guys, I want to start here by pointing out a headline that a lot of people have forgotten about, and that's that the US government has basically collected all the data about the altcoins that it holds as of last week. You might be wondering why that's important. Well, some of you guys might remember that the White House, or I guess Trump, had signed an executive order about both a strategic Bitcoin reserve and a digital asset stockpile. And of course, the digital asset stockpile would include altcoins, and specifically, it would include altcoins that the US government already holds. These altcoins still haven't been revealed. Of course, Trump had that tweet that caused ADA and other altcoins to pump. I think it was probably a couple months ago now. Time flies, but basically from a few weeks back, Trump made that tweet and that caused ADA to pump. But of course, there was still kind of no confirmation as to how much ADA the U.S. government holds. That information still hasn't been revealed, and this is something that I think could be revealed here in the short term, like in the next. I have no exact date here, but the fact that they have the data as of April 7th, and they're supposed to report all that data, and then they're probably going to make it public in the next couple of weeks. Of all the potential catalysts that could cause ADA to pump in the short term, I think this is at the top of the list, that basically the US government would come out and confirm, yes, we hold, X amount of ADA. And of course, there's a high chance that ADA is going to be on that list. Besides the fact that Trump already kind of posted about that, it's also the fact that it's an older altcoin. It's a blue chip altcoin. It's one that I'm sure the US government has come across as a result of enforcement actions or whatever else. So it would not surprise me at all if Trump or the U.S. government or the White House or whoever basically announces that we have established our digital asset stockpile, and we can confirm that it includes X amount of ADA. I think the chances of this kind of announcement happening in the short term are pretty high. Exactly when that could happen, no one knows, but the fact that they have that data as of last week suggests that it's going to come sooner than later. Of course, that brings me to the ADA chart here. We're on the daily. This week, I want to play around with some trend lines. And I know that trend lines are a little bit contentious because, of course, there's many different ways to draw them. Some people argue that you should draw based on the wicks. But the thing is, guys, that when it comes to crypto, there's so much volatility as a result of announcements like Trump talking about ADA or tweeting about ADA in the stockpile, which, of course, you guys will know that this is why ADA had this massive rally. I guess it was a month ago, roughly, or 6 weeks. In early March. That's why it saw that explosive rally. And of course, all these other kind of wicks above and wicks below, that's all due to kind of liquidations and stuff like that. So when it comes to drawing trend lines for me personally, I just try and focus as okay, in the most recent price action, where were the most number of price points hit, if that makes any sense, roughly speaking. So yes, even though here you can see prices deviated above this trend line, you can see that for the most part, every single time, you could see that prices would run up almost to this invisible line, and they would tag that line and then get rejected. And you can see that that's basically been the case since mid-December, or since early December, it looks like. So we're closing in on what, 4, almost 5 months of ADA basically grinding down here, and every single time it would get up to this trend line, it would get rejected. Of course, with a couple of exceptions here where it got pushed above. Probably as a result of, again, liquidations or whatever other market manipulation, by whales. But you can see here that ADA is now, again, looking like it's going to break above this trend line. Could it get rejected and keep going lower? Of course, that is possible. But when we consider the fact that, if you just look, forget about the trend line for a second and just look at the price action, you can see that prices have kind of settled somewhere, with it between, let's say, this 55 cents to a 75 cent range. That basically doesn't look like ADA is going to have another, puke lower. I do think that the more that we kind of test this trend line, the higher the chance that we're going to see a break above. And again, when we have a catalyst like something like this, like the U.S. government announcing that it's basically going to reveal, hey, we have ADA on our balance sheet, essentially, then this could be the catalyst, I think, that takes ADA above this trend line and causes a proper breakout. Could it be another flash kind of pump and dump like we saw back here? That's certainly possible, unfortunately. So that is one thing to keep in mind. It could be another speculative pump, and then we're right back to that trend line and continuing to grind along that. But I do think that at the very least, we're going to see kind of like a temporary break above this line, maybe, I don't know, up to like 85 cents or something. That seems to be a key zone of resistance, just using basic support resistance. You can see that there's a lot of price action clustering around 80 to 85 cents. So maybe, I don't know, from current price of around 65 cents to see a temporary pump, let's say of 30% up to around the 80 cent, 82 cent range, as a result of something like this news. That's certainly something that's possible. But of course, it is also possible that ADA could keep grinding along this trend line. But all things considered, guys, I do think, again, the more this trend line is tested, the higher the chance that we're going to see a break above that line. And once that does happen, then ADA is going to be back in a long-term uptrend, essentially. And you could argue, and I would argue that that it is still in a long-term uptrend, even with this multi-month downturn that we've seen. It's still holding up better than it was over last summer. Anyways, guys, as you might have noticed, we were using Binance there. Of course, the Coin Bureau deals page has a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 in bonuses. That's the biggest deal that you can get. It's available exclusively through the Coin Bureau. Taking advantage of this deal is super simple. All you have to do is click the link. The link is down in the description. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. Enter your email or your phone number. It takes 2 minutes to sign up, and you immediately get access to that free deal, up to 20% or 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 in bonuses. This deal isn't going to be around forever, so do take advantage of it using the link down in the description. The exchange gets a new user, you get a trading fee discount, and we get a cut of the trading fees. That's how we make our money. We're not here to we're not shilling Ethereum, not shilling Solana, not shilling Cardano or any crypto. We're here just to give you the tools you need to buy, sell, accumulate, whatever, trade your favorite cryptos, whether it's ADA or otherwise. So, help yourself out, help us out, help out the exchanges that you love, whether it's Binance or another one. We have deals on other exchanges down in the description as well. So do check those out. Pick the one that suits you best. And yeah, guys, make the most of this market. Anyways, moving on now to Chainlink. So I guess I'll lump in Chainlink and Algorand potentially in the same category here. I do think that tokenized RWAs. I mean, I know I've been pounding the table about this probably for about a couple of months now. That I do think that the tokenized RWA narrative is one that's going to take off in the near term. Who knows when that'll be? Could it be tomorrow? Could it be in a week? Could it be in a month? In my view, that's kind of near term. Of course, for many people in crypto, anything longer than 5 minutes is considered long term. But in all seriousness, guys, I do think that tokenized RWAs is a narrative that still has to enter. It hasn't really entered the spotlight properly yet. It's one that where Chainlink is dominant, of course, because it's like the oracle, it's the data feed, it's kind of the infrastructure required for these tokenized RWAs to work. And it's one that I think is going to do extremely well. Of course, even Sergey Nazarov was at the White House crypto summit from a couple weeks back. So of course, he has some close connections there as well. So I do think that Chainlink is going to be one of the primary beneficiaries. And again, it's just a question of what exactly is that tokenized RWA catalyst going to be? When is that going to come? I honestly don't know, but all that I do know is that when it does come, that's probably going to be the catalyst that, again, similarly to ADA, finally gets a link above this long-term trend line. Again, just like ADA, or just like I guess all the other trend lines that I draw, I'm not paying too much attention about to the deviations that are above this level, like these temporary deviations. I'm looking more as okay, what is the most frequent price level that was, or what is the most frequent level that was tagged on the way down here? I'm not really caring. I'm not going to measure from the top of the wicks here, and try and figure something out, down below. It's more just looking at okay, of all, basically this most recent price action, I guess, since early December, what is the level that has been tagged the most? And you can see when you draw that line down, you can see it's quite clearly, this trend line basically versus something else. I don't know, that you could move it up here and you could say, oh, the trend line is actually up here. It's actually, I don't know, something further down, or who knows what. But you can see, guys, that Link is testing this trend line here, and it looks like in the next couple of days it could be making another run up above that trend line, because again, the more that we test it, the higher the chance that eventually it's going to break out. And again, all that's missing is the catalyst. What is the thing that's going to trigger that rally above that trend line? And I do think it's going to be something related to tokenized RWAs. Similarly to ADA, we can see that in the short term, maybe would see a nice pump somewhere to around the $17 to $18 range. So maybe a 40% gain in the short term, in the next couple of weeks, assuming that we do get a bullish catalyst, something related to tokenized RWAs. So once there is a breakout above that level, I would expect to see at least a short-term rally, kind of similar to what we saw here in these two prior peaks. At least a small kind of fake out rally, let's say, and hopefully that will sustain. And my base case is that it will sustain, and we will start to see a recovery, going into sometime in May. So hopefully by the end of the month we'll start to see a recovery, but if not, then sometime in May, I do believe that it'll be very obvious to everyone that we're starting to see a gradual recovery in altcoins, leading up potentially to the cycle top over the summer. Anyways, guys, moving on now to Algorand. Of course, Algorand also falls into that tokenized RWA category. What's really fascinating to me about Algo, if we just go straight to the chart here, Algo looks actually of the three, compared to ADA, Link, and well, compared to ADA and Link, I guess. Algo looks like it's the strongest here, which is really fascinating. Like it really looks like it's already breaking above or about to break above this level, like any day now. Of course, you could say, oh, but you have to draw the trend line a little bit higher, a little bit lower. So again, just looking at like what was the level that was tagged the most often. Even using my own, I guess, reasoning there, you could say that ADA has already broken above this trend line, but I'm being a little bit more conservative, let's say, with this chart, because of course I think it's still too soon to declare that Algo's having a big breakout or anything. I think most people would agree, but it's really interesting though to see that Algo does look like it's about to break out even more so than ADA and Link. And again, I do think that the catalyst for that will be something around tokenized RWAs. I honestly don't know exactly what that's going to be or when that announcement could come, but I do think that's something that could take Algo above. And who knows, guys? Maybe it could just be that this strategic or just a digital asset stockpile. Maybe that'll be the catalyst for all three. Maybe it has nothing to do with tokenized RWAs, and maybe just the U.S. government coming out and providing like a long list of altcoins that it holds. Chances are that's going to include ADA. I mean, I think that's basically a guarantee. There's a high chance that it'll include Link because it's also kind of like a blue chip altcoin that's been around for a long time, and it could also include Algo. So maybe that'll be the catalyst that takes them all above. But again, I'm trying to think of like all the different angles, I guess you could say. And in terms of ADA, I do think that the highest chance, or I guess the top of the list for catalyst is definitely this digital asset stockpile announcement, which again is still coming in terms of exactly what cryptos they hold and how many. And in the case of Chainlink and Algorand, it looks like it's going to be more something related to tokenized RWAs. And just as a side note, something I mentioned in yesterday's video about Mantra, my personal view, and you can call it like a tinfoil hat take or whatever, my personal view is that the fact that Mantra was taken down now, especially because it was like the top crypto basically in the tokenized RWA niche, the fact that it was taken down now by whoever basically suggests to me that we are about to see a rally in the tokenized RWA niche, and someone wants to make sure that Mantra is not at the top of that list when that hype starts to begin, if that makes any sense. So yeah, anyways, for whatever that's worth, guys, I do hope you find that information helpful. And if you did, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.